everyone, and welcome to today's Shocktober episode, looking at our next horror movie, The Voices. So this is a Ryan Reynolds horror comedy that I remember seeing the trailer for like a long time ago, and remember thinking like, oh, this doesn't look very good, but I'm like a Ryan Reynolds fan, so I'll kind of watch anything he does. And then just kind of forgot about it because it was a very limited release kind of movie. I didn't have Netflix a long time ago. I don't even know if it was on Netflix back then, but it is on Netflix now. And I was scrolling through and I was like, oh, this movie. I remember I wanted to check this out. And the plot synopsis is, which I think is a pretty terrible plot synopsis, a likable guy pursues his office crush with the help of his evil talking pets, but things turn sinister when she stands him up for a date. Which is accurate, but not the way I would describe the movie per se. The film is directed by a name I'm probably going to get completely wrong. Marjane Satrapi. I don't know. It's not maybe like a French-Canadian name because I believe this was a Canadian production. And it was written by Michael R. Perry. So, the movie stars Ryan Reynolds, Gemma Arterton, Anna Kendrick, and, some others. Those are kind of your main players. So kind of the setup here is Ryan Reynolds is clearly crazy, but is clearly a socially awkward but likable dude. He works at like a factory and, tries to be the guy who's like, oh, I want to have friends. I want to hang out with people. And people just kind of see him as like the weird guy. And he, his way of kind of meeting people is they're having some party and they're like, oh, well, every office party somebody else has to handle the planning and it's your turn to handle the planning. And he kind of takes it with like a big smile. He's like, yeah, this will be great. It's going to be a great party and, I'm going to make a lot of friends and people are going to like me because of the party I got on. This movie does a really fantastic job of making Ryan Reynolds a sympathetic character, like even though the movie goes where it goes. And I will say I was pleasantly surprised by this movie. It's not amazing, but it was like an okay movie that I got a lot more out of than I ever expected to. So the setup here is, and this is, I have to spoil like a little bit of the movie so before I go into full on spoilers, excuse me. So yeah, he has a crush on Gemma Arterton and he asks her out, and it turns out to be the same night as this like karaoke date that a lot of the other workers had, and so she kind of blows him off. And then as she's on her way home, her car won't start and it starts to rain, and he's driving by and picks her up and basically ends up freaking her out because they hit a deer, and as the deer is like dying, he envisions the deer talking to him saying like, put me out of my misery. So he kills the deer, and that freaks her out because she thinks he's crazy, especially since he's saying like, no, he wants me to, he's telling me to, like clearly there's something wrong with this guy. So she gets out of the truck and starts running, and he's like running after her like, no, come back, it's not safe. And then she ends up stopping, and he accidentally runs into her with the knife and ends up killing her. Or, at least mortally wounding her, and then she's bleeding on the ground, and then he has to put her out of her misery. And it's, it's this horrible thing. He did it on accident, or it's at least implied that he did it on accident. And that's kind of what kicks off the movie. So I'm gonna have to go into just full on spoilers now. So the big part of the movie is he has a cat and a dog, and he talks to them. That's where the voices in the title comes from, is the voices in his head are the voices of his animals, which are his only friend. When he goes home, he has this like nice, perfectly clean home, and these two animals he talks to, they're his friends, and life is good. And he knows that he's a little crazy, but like, it's working for him, so he's kind of just dealing with it. But obviously, since he killed his coworker, things are not going so well. And the two animals kind of serve as like the angel and the devil on your shoulder, with the dog being the angel and the cat being the devil. Ryan Reynolds does voice the animals and kind of gives them a different like way of speaking, which is kind of fun. The cat is this fucking asshole with like an Irish Scottish accent, and the dog is kind of what you expect from like old cartoons, like hi Blue. And it's a lot of fun. Like the interplay between him and the animals is a lot of fun, and him doing the voices for it is perfect because they are the voices in his head, which I guess when they were making the movie they did want to get other people to voice the animals, and Ryan was like, no, I should do it because that it would make more sense that way, and it totally works. So Anna Kendrick's character, she's kind of like another person in the office that has a crush on him, and he was kind of crushing on Gemma Arterton, and now that she's gone, he does start to kind of notice Anna Kendrick. So one thing that does end up happening is he has to hide Gemma Arterton's body, so he has to go get it and chop it up basically. But he puts the head in the fridge, and he talks to the head, and she's kind of like, hey, I need a friend, like, when are you gonna give me a friend? And the cat is the one who's always kind of egging him on, like, hey man, this is what you want to do, you want to do it, so just kill some more. And the dog's the one trying to keep him at bay. So yeah, and then it kind of spirals into he actually makes a connection with Anna Kendrick, and he doesn't want to hurt her, and they start dating, and he tells her about his mom who died. He takes her to his childhood home, and very clear that he has trauma. And again, as I said, the movie does a really good job of making Ryan Reynolds sympathetic. Even though he's killing people and chopping them up, you kind of feel for him, and that he doesn't know what to do. He knows he's crazy, but he doesn't want to be lonely and be locked away. And there's actually a good chain of events where he decides to go see his shrink and get medication, because after he kills Gemma Arterton, he's like, I need to do something about this. So that's a good character developing moment, as he actually wants to better himself. But then once he takes the medication, we see kind of the true state of things, is that when he wakes up in his apartment, it's disgusting and gross, and there's boxes everywhere that are implied to maybe have some body parts in them. There could be blood dripping out, it could be animals, you never really know. But it's picture when they break into fucking Ed Gein's house and there's a lamp made out of fucking human skin. It's not quite to that degree, but it's a couple steps below that. And then his animals aren't talking to him anymore. So it's one day of taking the medication, he can't take it anymore, and he flushes them all down the sink. And I don't know, that kind of stuff just kind of really got to me. It's oh man, I totally feel for this dude. And he's a monster, he's terrible, but it's not on purpose. He's not doing it on purpose. And I believe it isn't. They say it one big twist is his mom was crazy. And somebody called the cops. I think he called the cops on his mom, but before the cops get there, the mom convinces him to kill her, so he kills his mom, and then he ends up getting sent away for a long time. So that's kind of part of his backstory. So it's it's not the first time he's done this. And the movie kind of spirals into a pretty dark ending. I won't spoil the ending, because I do think the movie is worth watching, especially on Netflix. It's not an amazing movie. It's totally an okay movie, but I guess with my low expectations, I just got a little more out of it. And I do think all the acting in the movie is really good. I do think Ryan Reynolds is really good in the movie, and worth experiencing just for his performance. And there are some kind of laughing moments, some kind of dark moments. It's a movie worth checking out, so be sure to check out The Voices on Netflix. And that's gonna do it for today's Shocktober episode talking about The Voices. Be sure to check back for our next episode, where we will actually be talking about another Stephen King movie. And I swear I didn't do that on purpose. That's kind of just the way it worked out. So thanks for listening, and see you on next episode.